the Slavic communities that it would be very interesting to investigate and document. Okay. Okay. Now, I've been doing Canadian field work fairly recently. I've only been in Canada about 2.5 years, whereas working in Ukraine I've been doing for a long time. In fact, I was sort of regretting that I didn't do some more of my Ukrainian field work last night, but you can't do everything. This are some nice ladies in Washington village near Lutsk. And I recorded them very recently. It wasn't last summer, it was the summer before. But I've been collecting now for 12 years in Ukraine. And so, with all that, you end up with about 200 hours of audio recordings. That's a hell of a lot of audio recordings. As we were discussing with John, it takes approximately 3 to 4 hours to transcribe an hour of audio recordings. These ladies are obviously very much worth transcribing. Some of this stuff is less worthwhile transcribing. My purpose when I was doing this was to collect, very much like with the Canadian stuff, information about ritual. So how do you celebrate a wedding? If people will tell me how it was like during Soviet times, then they'll tell me how it's like now, and I can observe it. Same thing with baptisms, funerals, and of course when you get all of this sort of stuff, you also get lots of song stories and legends. I very recently wrote an article about religious stories that came up with, I was interviewing and asking about weddings, and I would be told something like Yak Bog Людей Porowal, which is how God matched up men and women, or I would be told Чому чоловік має бути головою родини, which is why the man has to be the head of the household. And I can tell you that later if we have time, we'll see. Anyway, so I would get all this stuff in addition. I would get like why you can't know the hour of death when I asked about funerals and things like that. So there's all this stuff. And when I first came, one of the things that I got was a lot of graduate student support. Hint, 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 if any graduate students would like to come and join us, we support our graduate students well. And this is one that just got her PhD in August. And anyway, between the graduate student support, we get great tech support. And so what we did, and I would like to, if we have a minute, go to the website that was done by Svetlana, yours truly, my hubby, and Eric, who I didn't manage, Eric Zhang, or also called Yu Zhang, who I didn't manage to photograph. And what we did was that Svetlana indexed at that point it wasn't 200 hours, at that point it was about 150 hours. I'll show you what indexing means. What it means is approximately every couple of minutes, literally every couple of minutes, she would write down, okay, here's where they're talking about baptisms. Here's where they're talking about cutting the hair at baptism. Here's where they're talking about the krishma, which is the cloth that you hold the baby on at baptism. So it'd say, 1 minute, 52 seconds, baptism. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 42 seconds, krishma, 5 minutes, whatever it is, song or something, or food that goes with baptism. So it's indexed. It's up. I'll show it to you. It's a fantastic research website. I've used it, Svetlana's used it, all sorts of people use it. It's a scholar's website. And because it is essentially a scholar's website, like, you look up baptism, you might hit a great person who tells you very clearly all about baptism, or I'm going to be showing you a little snippet of a woman that's talking about weaning the baby and the evil eye, how, what you shouldn't do when you wean the baby. Okay, so you might get a very clear recording, you might get a toothless Baba where I'm saying, sure, and she's, because she's deaf and on top of, so that's kind of not worth transcribing. Well, sometimes it works out in some of the sanctuary project ones. Some Bobby are very wise. Many Baba nowhere was. I'm hoping I am one of them. Anyway, but what happens with, like in one of my sanctuary project recordings, the informants were terrific, but various people, it's in a church basement with chairs with metal legs on a concrete floor. So if anybody pulls one, you get through the middle of the recording, which is, anyway, what we're working on is trying to take these 200 hours and pick little chunks out of them that people would like to hear, that people would also like to have available in written form. Transcription means that you write it out in the same language in which it was performed. So it'd be meaning to write it out in Ukrainian. Translation means putting it into English. I'll be showing you some of the stuff that we've got. We've already have kind of a preliminary site. This is what I got a federal grant for. What will happen with this is, first of all, it won't be just academics working on it, it'll be community members. For the community, it will give them a sense of pride and accomplishment in terms of contributing something toward, making Ukrainian culture more widely available. And also, it lets them decide the kind of stuff they want done. Do they want songs? There are some very unusual songs in that 200 hours, I've been told. Do they want stories? If they want stories, what kind? Would they rather have the religious stories about like how God came to dinner or something like that? Or do they want stories about the supernatural, like a woman waking up in the middle of the night because there's a domovik on top of her? Okay? Yeah, that's Motra Andreevna Perepechai telling you about the domovik, and what happened. Anyway, so it will get, for us, and it's actually very interesting for me to see what does the community want? What is the community interested in? Do they want it then to stay as an online resource where it be a sound file, a transcription, and a translation? Or do they want it published in a book of stories or a book of songs? If they want a book of songs, I'm going to have to get a musicologist to transcribe the music. Can you understand this? I'm going to click through a bunch of samples. This is Yevdokia components, and this is about how they divided the goose. Can you understand this? Yeah. Now, what we're doing sort of for the first round is picking the ones that are A, interesting, and B, as clear as possible. And one of the things we want to find out is it easier to transcribe prose or is it easier to transcribe songs, because songs will be repetitive and you're the music and the poetry will kind of dictate. Another thing, by the way, that we're going to try to do with this is see if people can go. See, in Canada, there are a lot of people who speak Ukrainian but can't read and write it. So they'll understand it. But if, I'll show you the website in just a sec, they understand it with the old website, which is one of the reasons we translated it, because it was all in Ukrainian before. And people would say, but when they would listen to it, say, oh, Mama sounds just like Baba. And, you know, my Baba used to sing that too. So what we're going to try to do, and this is from the point of view of people who teach language and who are linguists, we're going to try to let people go directly from sound to English. It's never been tried before. It may be a total flop, because usually you transcribe, then from the written text translate. You know, it may be a total flop, but you might as well try and see what happens.
Не дасть мати груді, а тоді возьме так не дасть. А подлучає, понімаєте? Да, дає, а тоді ну треба за одлучити вже ще маленька таке. А тоді пожаліє, днів 2 чи стільки не дасть, а тоді дасть. То кажуть, дитина, людина так погана тобі на очі.
So this is how you get evil eye.
А що робили, коли забагато?
Чи можна замовити молебень, чи щось таке можна зробити?
Колись було, як оце велика хмара находить, і буде і громи великі, так ми було по черги ті, що у хаті, що топили печі, оце викидаємо на дві обв'язати. Оце всі ті по черги. Ну, як молитву знає, що ви можете робити.
Okay, so what we tried to do is get an assortment of things in this, and I'll show you something else. And this is essentially the last slide, which says there's all sorts of neat stuff up there. So if you guys would like to participate, we would love to have you. And